We are the most informed generation in history about our own psychology. We have more tools, more resources, more access to insight than any generation before us. And we are also lonelier and more anxious than ever. That's not a coincidence. We have become incredibly good at feeling like we are doing the inner work while staying just far enough away from it that nothing actually has to change. Another book, another podcast, another framework that explains the pattern beautifully and leaves us feeling, for a moment, like we have the answers to change. Until the next morning when the same feeling surfaces again and we reach for the next thing that might finally make it make sense. And most recently, we find ourselves with an AI chat window open when the feelings are the loudest. Searching inside a tool that never sighs, never checks its phone, never needs anything back from us. The one that will reflect your pain back to you with clarity that can feel in the moment exactly like being understood. Not one of those tools can cry your sadness or scream your anger. Not one of them can sit with the grief that has been living in your chest and let it move through you fully and patiently. Those tools can describe those experiences with remarkable accuracy. They can validate them. They can offer you the most articulate, intellectual framework for understanding them that has ever existed. But the feeling itself, the actual moving through, that belongs to you. And no amount of understanding, however beautiful or precise, will do it in your place. So today I want to talk about where these tools actually belong in your inner work. And just as importantly, where they need to be put aside. If you caught last week's reflection, you know how I got honest about my own experience using AI for personal development work. There was a moment of recognition that felt true, until it didn't quite. Then there was a hollowness where relief should have been. What I want to offer today isn't a framework or a list of rules. It's something closer to what it feels like in your body to use these tools honestly, and what it feels like when you are using them to avoid the very thing you are hoping to heal. Keep in mind that avoidance doesn't always feel like avoidance. That is what makes it so effective. It feels like progress. It feels like growth. It feels like you are finally, genuinely doing the work, until you notice that nothing has changed. Something happens, a conversation that lands harder than it should, a moment of criticism that reaches an old wound. And instead of sitting with that, instead of letting it be what it is in your body, in your chest, in the particular way it makes you want to either disappear or fix something immediately, you open a web browser. You start reading. You find the article that explains exactly what just happened to you and why, and what it means about your attachment patterns or your nervous system or the wound you have been working on for years. And something in you exhales, not because the feeling moved, but because you found a way to get above it. You found a way to be in your head, thinking about the feeling, instead of being in the feeling. I have done this more times than I want to admit. I've reached for understanding when what I actually needed was to feel something I wasn't quite ready to feel yet. I don't want to make this behavior wrong, but naming it is the way to begin making a different choice. Understanding is not the same as feeling or embodiment. They live in different places. Understanding lives in the mind, in language, in the clean architecture of concepts that make experience make sense. Feeling lives in the body, in the tightening and the releasing, in the tears that finally come when you stop managing them, in the anger that has something real to say when you stop apologizing for it. The most sophisticated tool in the world can take you to the edge of understanding. It cannot take one step into the territory of feeling that comes after it. If something in that lands for you, if you recognize yourself in it and you feel ready to stop circling, I created a free 7-day guided journey called Returning. It is a supported path back to yourself with structure and care at your own pace. The link is below, and I would be honored to walk alongside you. Now, the honest answer isn't to stop using AI tools. The question is where they belong and where they don't. Before real inner work begins, these tools can be genuinely useful. When something activates you and you don't yet have language for what is happening, when the feeling is present but murky, when you can sense something is asking for your attention but you can't quite name what it is. In those moments, using a tool to begin finding language and find your way to the edge of the question, that is honest use. A way of arriving before your next coaching or therapy session with a little more clarity about what territory you're entering. I have used AI in this way myself. When something feels tangled and I cannot quite name it yet, I will sometimes sit with it in a conversation, not looking for resolution, just looking for a place to start. The intention makes all the difference. I am not asking AI to do the work. I am using it to get clear enough about what I am carrying so that when I do the real work, I can actually find my way in. Your body knows the difference between those two things, even when your mind is not sure yet. There is a quality to intentionally approaching something. It feels less like relief and more like readiness. A sense that you are finally moving in the right direction. Avoiding feels different. It may feel like relief, but it is the relief of stepping back from an edge, not crossing it. The practice is learning to trust that distinction rather than talk yourself out of what you already sense. After deep inner work has happened, this is where I think these tools are most underestimated. After something has genuinely shifted, after a session where something surfaced you didn't know was there, after a quiet hour where you stayed with what you were feeling long enough for it to begin to move, in those moments the work becomes integration, staying oriented to what you discovered, noticing when you drift back toward the familiar, asking yourself honestly whether you're living from the new understanding or quietly sliding back into the groove that has always felt like home, even when it stopped fitting a long time ago. A coaching client I worked with described using AI in exactly this way after a significant breakthrough in one of our sessions together. Something had shifted for her around the way she had been abandoning herself in her closest relationships. And rather than letting that insight live only in the hour we spent together, she began checking in with it daily. She would open a chat conversation and talk about where she had noticed the old pattern that week. She would get curious about whether she had stayed with herself in a moment that previously would have sent her rushing to take care of everyone else. She wasn't using it to go deeper into the wound. She was using it to stay awake to what she had already discovered. She told me it felt less like therapy and more like having a mirror she could pick up whenever she needed it. That is honest use. That is the tool serving the work rather than replacing it. You will get a different outcome when you use AI to return to what you discovered in your own words and sit with it honestly, rather than reaching for AI before you have done any real work at all. You are not asking the tool to find the truth. You already found the truth. You are using it to help you stay awake to it. Before the work begins, when something feels tangled and you are still finding your way forward, AI can help you get clear on what you are actually carrying. After the work has moved through you, it can help you stay oriented to what shifted. But there's one place in all of this where I would suggest you put the tools down. The middle, the actual moving through the feelings, is not a place for AI tools. Not for articles or late night research into what your pattern means or where it came from. The middle is where something surfaces that may surprise you. It's the conversation where you finally say the real thing out loud and feel, in the saying of it, something shift in your chest. The meditation where you stay with the feeling long enough for it to complete itself, rather than pushing it back down into the place where it becomes the low hum you have simply accepted as normal. I know what it feels like to want to reach for something in those moments, to feel the discomfort rising and instinctively look for a way to make sense of it rather than simply be in it. The reaching is familiar. It feels protective. But the moments I have grown the most have been the ones where I stayed instead, where I let something be uncomfortable and unresolved long enough for it to tell me what it actually needed. The middle requires presence, your own and often someone else's curious and compassionate presence as well. A person who can stay steady while you find your way through something unsteady, who will not move on when something in you pulls back, but will stay curious about what that pulling back is protecting. Someone who can hold the wider view of you, the version of you that exists beyond this moment, beyond this pattern, beyond this particular wound, while you are too close to it to see it yourself. This is what becomes possible between two people in genuine connection with each other. And it is one of the most profound things one person can offer to another. You already know in your body the difference between moving toward something uncomfortable that needs to be seen and staying safely away from it. You already know the difference between the relief of genuine release and the relief of having successfully avoided something for another day. The practice is learning to trust what you already know and then making the choice to keep moving toward it, even when everything in you would rather find one more thing to read first. You deserve to be truly seen, not reflected back in the shape of a pattern some algorithm recognized, not validated in the way a tool designed to keep you engaged will always validate you, but seen in the full and complicated truth of who you are, what you carry, and what you are reaching toward. That being seen happens in relationship, in the patient, genuinely curious presence of another person willing to stay with you long enough for the real thing to surface. AI can support the edges of that work, before it begins and after it moves through you, but it cannot be the thing itself. If you feel ready for that kind of accompaniment, the link for returning is below. A free 7-day guided journey back to yourself. Not a shortcut, but a supported path with someone who knows the terrain. Until next time, take good care of yourself and keep looking inward.